endorser of Trump back in 2016. He got nicknamed Little Marco, because he was, I think, like 46 or something back then when he was running. He has since endorsed Trump twice now. And, demographically speaking, he's really good. He's got a Cuban background. He's from Florida, which we'll get into with another pick on why that might be an issue and why it might not. But a good Spanish-speaking man is going to help you a lot. Latino males are one of the groups that Trump absolutely has to make inroads with this election cycle if he really wants to put the pressure on Biden. He's the only reason he's not an S tier is because he is not exactly a fully he's not full MAGA like some of these other guys are. And he's a little more establishment than I would like, but generally speaking, he would be a very solid pick. Next up, we have Ben Carson. Ben Carson is going to go ahead and slide in at B tier, not only because his name starts with a B, but because he's a little more soft-spoken. He's not very energetic. Right? You can be energetic and still slightly reserved. Right? He's got a good contrast to Trump, which is why he's up in B tier. He's got an excellent life story. And the fact that he is black and I believe from Detroit, Michigan does not hurt at all. Actually, you know what? We'll slot him up into A tier as a result of that. He's been extremely loyal to Trump. We know that he's not been one of these guys who comes out and attacks him all the time. He's been out there on the campaign trail, out there advocating for Trump, doing all sorts of outreach to the black community. And that's another big demographic that Trump absolutely has to make inroads with, is working class black and Latino men. Again, Ben Carson, not exactly the fighter that we need, but a lot of these people aren't fighters. You have your fighter in Trump, so if you can bring someone like Ben Carson who can, bring a little bit of that calm energy, right? I think that would be really nice. You have Elisa Stefanik now, the House Representative from New York. She's going to be an A tier. Don't worry, this will be a little bit varied. JD Vance will not be alone in that B tier for very long, and we'll fill out this bottom couple of tiers too. But Elise Stefanik, right, the number 3 House Republican right now, from New York, so she would really help in the House elections that will be going on there. You had a massive overperformance with one Lee Zeldin, hint hint. But right, she is like I said, she's in a leadership position in the House, so it wouldn't be that big of a jump for her to go into VP. She's a young woman, very easy on the eyes, which, I think she was a little heavier way back when. But, right, she's lost that weight. She looks good. She's out there. Right, she defended Trump during his impeachment trials when it wasn't necessarily popular to do so. You know that Trump likes to reward loyalty. And I really think that she would be a good pick for him. Again, give that nice contrast. Here we have Tim Scott, and he's going to be down here in C tier. I never was excited when Tim Scott started talking on the debate stage. It always sounded like you were getting preached at. And I understand that, right, he's a Christian, and that's a big part of his life, right? Religion is very important to a lot of people. But you're going to have to appeal to people who are also not Christian. And if every single word out of your mouth is a Bible quote, right, that's going to turn some people off. And generally speaking, I don't know, he's not exactly been the most pro-MAGA person in the Senate. He got his start because he went over to the Democrat office and said, hey, I'd like to run for something. They said, okay, great, take a number and wait in line. He went over to the Republican office and they said, absolutely, sign up and we'll get you started right here. Right, he does do his From Cotton to Congress tale, which is also very good. But generally speaking, I think you could do a little bit better than Tim Scott. He's not very enthusiastic, and I think he would honestly get quite flustered against Kamala, which is not a trait you can have. Someone who would not get flustered is one Vivek Ramaswamy. Right, this guy is a CEO, businessman. Again, one of those rich guys like him and Doug Burgum are both very influential, have a lot of rich friends. What Vivek does, unfortunately, the reason he's not higher is because he overlaps with a very similar segment of the population that also likes Trump. Right? He's not exactly out there expanding the base, except for with Asian Americans, who wouldn't necessarily be all that bad. But the one problem with him, like I said, is that he doesn't exactly reassure people that he can be a calming presence for Trump. I think he would be an excellent guy. Maybe in Trump's cabinet somewhere. There's a variety of positions I think he could be well suited for. Had a small business, I think he would absolutely kill it there. Or maybe even like a chief of staff, um, making sure that people are doing what they need to do. Right? He's young, he's high energy, but I think he still needs a little bit of time to sort of mature as a politician. Maybe think about a run for Senate or something similar. Next up, we have Byron Donalds. He's going to be my S-tier candidate for this list. The reasons being are that, number one, he serves a demographic purpose, right? He is a young black man, in which this election you're going to need to get a lot of young black men. Not only for this election, but hopefully for many elections in the future, right? The Republican Party can't only be about Trump. Certainly, you have to capitalize on what he brings with you now, but he's bringing in a lot of new people to the party. You have to make sure you can keep them, right? Byron is also, he's extremely MAGA. I have absolutely no issues with his policy positions. He's been a steadfast advocate for Trump. And right, he's nice. Absolutely, he would destroy Kamala Harris in the debate. I would go pay real money to watch that happen. I think he would be an absolute home run hit. The one problem with Byron Donalds is that he and Trump come right now. Their residences are from the same place in Florida, and you can see over here in our Constitution. These electors shall meet and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be inhabitant of the same state with themselves. That's just a fancy way of saying that they cannot be from the same state, your president and vice president. What Trump can do, I believe, is file, I don't know if it's like filing paperwork or something you have to officially declare or what, but my guess is if he was to choose either Rubio or Donalds, is that, or maybe even Meatball Ron way down here at the bottom, that he would change his state of residence to New York and, try and play up that same 2016 New York billionaire vibe that we had way back when. So yeah, Byron Donalds, S-tier candidate. I think you could do pretty much no better than him. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is one who's getting a little bit of love from certain people. I don't see it. She's not giving you anything new on the ticket, right? She's, I just find her to be bland, and she was a press secretary, so she would probably do quite well in the debate against Kamala. But as far as, right, and she is MAGA, I'll give her that. But she doesn't really bring you anything new to the ticket. If you wanted to go with, a suburban mom type vibe, Ellie Stefanik, I think, would absolutely be a much better choice than her. Over here, we have Lee Zeldin. We're going to go ahead and slot him into A tier because his overperformance in the New York governor's race against Kathy Hochul was absolutely stellar. He is probably one of the only reasons, along with the California Republicans, California and New York, two surprisingly Democratic states who surprisingly had a good turnout for Republicans in the midterms. They're the only reason that we have the U.S. House right now. Right, Lee Zeldin is someone who would still make New York competitive, probably pull a lot of those New York House representatives over the finish line. He's Jewish, which might not matter to a lot of people. I think it would help a little bit with the Democrat Jewish vote, but at this point, the Democrats are trying to fund Hamas and all the other states around Hamas and Israel who say their stated goal is the destruction of the Jewish people. So at this point, if Jews are not voting Republican, I really don't know what can make them do that. Right, again, older guy, but he's young enough that I think you could have a nice contrast, and he's a very kind of reserved, gives that quiet strength. I think he'd be an excellent pick. You have Nikki Haley next, and she goes all the way down in D tier. I am not a Nikki Haley fan in the slightest. Right here, she is probably gesturing to tell all of her foreign donors where we're going to send your taxpayer money, whether it's to Ukraine, whether it's to Israel. She's a globalist. She's a neocon. She is not America First in the slightest. somehow she has a lot of people who would vote for her. But you know, anyone who energizes the Democrats to go out and vote for her is not someone that we should be nominating as president or vice president for that matter. So she will stay in D tier, where she can keep collecting her salary from Boeing as all of the doors on her airplanes come off. Over here, also in D tier, we are going to put Tulsi Gabbard. From Hawaii, I believe originally. If I was RFK Jr., I would have chosen her as my VP. She gets a lot of praise from the right wing for being a little bit of an anti-establishment policy holder on certain issues, but she used to be a Democrat not that long ago and still holds a lot of similar Democratic positions. For example, she still supports, I believe, the assault weapons ban, which, that's a non-starter for Republicans. She's not MAGA. If Trump was worried about Pence backstabbing him, she would be far, far worse. I would advise him to stay away from her at all costs, and I think he's got better people than me to listen to, and they'll tell him that. Finally, we have Ron DeSantis here, who I'm going to go ahead and put in C tier. I think this is extremely unlikely to happen, but a lot of people were running to talk about the Ron and Don ticket, or this kind of Republican unity ticket. You can't run against someone, say that you are them without their negative qualities, and then try to get back in their good graces. It's not going to happen. I think Ron has been a great governor for Florida. I would take him as pretty much governor of any state in the union, and I think he would make it a much better place to be. Unfortunately, he should probably stay in Florida for the time being. Who knows what will happen in 2028 if he'll run for president again there. It's too early to say, but I think he's probably going to chill out for a while, as much as you can chill out in Florida, and just see what happens and what develops from there. Finally, we have Glenn Youngkin. I'm going to put him in D tier, but not for the reasons that you might think. I'm actually an extremely enthusiastic supporter of Glenn Youngkin. He came out there in 2021 after Republicans were kind of reeling from the 2020 elections. And kind of put himself back on the map with him, Winsome Sears as lieutenant governor, and Alejandro Miyares, I think, is the attorney general. All three of them won their statewide races in Virginia, a state that was generally seen as blue by around 10 points. For example, that'd be like a Democrat sweeping all of Texas's legislative offices. Virginia's got a weird system where they do not you cannot have subsequent gubernatorial terms. So, he'll have to take this next term off if he wants to run again. So he'll win, 2 out of 3, and that'll be the maximum allowed, I believe, for him. So his term is coming to an end soon, but I'm guessing that he's either going to want to run for Senate or generally stay in the background. He did not win by motivating tons and tons of MAGA voters in Virginia, especially right after 2020 and the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Trump was not exactly a popular guy at that point in that time in the country. And so Glenn was kind of able to come out as a moderate sort of Republican and make sure that he was not seen, super closely associated with Trump. I do believe that he will probably run for president in the near future, and I would probably support him. I think if he coupled himself with someone like Vivek or J.D. Vance, you'd have an extremely effective mix of the nice sweater vest Republican with the firebrand populist, giving him some good advice and advocating for other positions. I wouldn't be opposed to it. They just had Trump and Youngkin, Big Y, as some people call him. They just had that photo op together, and Trump will be holding a rally in Virginia right after the debate. So, who knows? I don't think it'll happen. I wouldn't be opposed to it if it does, but he's just in D tier because I think that Youngkin would do a much better job remaining as governor of Virginia. So that's all I've got for you guys now. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like, share, and I will see you guys in the next one.